Welcome to the second episode of NFT-DAO Podcast. I'm your host, Philip Roberts. Now, before we get started, nothing said on this show should be taken as financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before making any investment decisions. And with that said, let's begin. Today, I'm joined with Troy, Dan, and Steven. So, gentlemen, how y'all doing?
We're doing great.
Thanks, Philip.
Excellent, thanks.
Yeah. All right, yeah, great. All right, so starting with you, Troy, can you give us a brief overview of your work history and what you do at NFT-DAO?
Yeah, sure. So, my work history has been, I guess, across the board of different industries. My background's in the arts and the creative sector, and that's where my kind of early degrees were. But as I progressed over the years, I got involved in a lot of different community service and community management sort of roles, and then worked in creative production more, and also worked in the health sector and logistics. So, I guess my goal of wanting to be an artist in the beginning was quite challenging because, not everyone's paid in the arts. So, one of my desires over the years is trying to figure out ways, how can we, bolster the creative communities and creative economies and stuff like that. So I'd worked as an artist manager over in Sydney and saw how a lot of artists at the time around Australia were kind of making money and how competitive it was also. But in the back of my mind was always this idea of how is there ways to be able to, collaborate on big projects, and, is there ways that we can leverage communities and perhaps different currencies to do that? And that's kind of what led me into the blockchain space. And that's what led me to Cardano as well. When I started looking at the research into blockchain, Cardano just stood out just by a mile in terms of just how research orientated it was. And for me also, the strength of the community was a real draw. But what really caught my attention was Project Catalyst. And I saw something I was looking for, for a long time. And it was, is there a communal fund or something like that out there that's able to support ideas and launch pads? And I know there's Kickstarter and I know there's VC funds, but what about people just trying to get started off the ground? How does that work? And so Cardano launched this idea, and I was so excited that I think it was about July last year, I ended up just sending a proposal straight to YOHK because I didn't even know what the process was. The Catalyst hadn't even launched, and I had this idea. I want to create, I want us to find a way to create a platform where we can bring communities together and they can, self-fund ideas using tokens and whatnot. And around this time, I was also starting my PhD, and that was studying in this area of peer production and collaborative economies. And so there was this alignment for me that drew me into this program and straight into Catalyst. And so, the big, I didn't get into looking at the Catalyst proposals until Fund 3. So I kind of missed the boat. And I felt like I'd missed the whole thing. And then, so Fund 3, I started just scanning through all these different proposals, and one of them in particular stood out, and it was by a guy named Rich. I saw he was posting a lot of different proposals in different categories, but one of them was for NFTs. And it was this idea that, instead of all of us trying to compete against one another and, and go into a competition, why don't we just pool our resources and, and merge these ideas into one sort of community? And that turned into this idea of NFT-DAO. So I really liked the idea, and I thought I want to jump into this. So I messaged him, and he said he'd been in touch with a guy called Tyler, and he said, why don't you guys jump in the Discord? So it was us three. We jumped into this Discord and just started chatting one day and talking about Catalyst and talking about, what a DAO might look like, and talking about NFTs and all this sort of stuff. And then I guess the project kind of just started growing from there, from a discussion, and then slowly other people started joining, and then it's turned into what it's turned into today.
Yes, absolutely. So Dan, how did you get involved with NFT-DAO? And tell us what you'd actually do at NFT-DAO.
I got involved in NFT-DAO because similar to Troy, I wanted to, I'm looking for ways to create sustainable models to finance small and independent entrepreneurs and smart ideas. So I've been in the blockchain space for a couple of years now. Started in 2016 working as a business analyst for Eternity. In the end, I went to Catalyst to draw up my own proposals, couple of them, also one for an NFT. Yeah, a passion project of mine. And then I saw Rich's proposal, and I was like, yeah, this is definitely something worth looking into. I went to the first meeting, was greeted with open arms, and since then I kind of drifted more or less into or mainly focused on the governance Holon, because I love the people that I'm working with there. It's really very much agreeable. And right now I'm looking into designing or coming up with a design for the first tokens that we want to play around with, namely the Kudo tokens, because what we saw in the Discord in the first couple of weeks was that it's very hard to keep track of all the contributions, and this is something that has a lot of value if it's captured. And yeah, so that's what I do. I try to figure out how we can integrate these tokens into the dynamics of the community, and in a way that we all can work together towards creating the tool set that is needed for the community to create their own NFT marketplaces and whatnot.
Oh, wow. Excellent. So, hey, Stephen, can you give us your technical background and a brief overview of who you are and how you've been contributing to NFT-DAO and in what capacity?
Thank you, Philip. Yeah, my technical background is in quality assurance, in test program management, IT project management. I worked in local government, investment banking, and IT consultancy. But major interest recently, over the past 10 years, has been philosophy, which has developed over many years, over 30 years, which I'm quite old, from the history of psychology through politics and ethics to recently the philosophy of information. And the philosophy of information led me to an interest in the philosophical implications of blockchain technologies. So I've also worked with different marginalized communities, particularly the homeless, fundraising for social enterprises and developing peer facilitation techniques in London hostels and articulating homeless issues to government and charities. I started contributing to NFT-DAO. I was introduced by the lovely Michael Yagi in the NFT gold rush of interest about the beginning of March, and immediately started with communications and documentation. And I focused on what was, I wanted to assist in the genesis of NFT-DAO, because there was a need to capture that genesis and to begin to set up and refine GitHub repositories and to achieve NFT-DAO's open source deliverables, as well as working with wonderful Troy, Dan, Sev, Hard on governance token design. Yeah, so that's what.
All right. Can you tell us a little about QA-DAO?
Yeah, I recently changed to QA-DAO to initiate an experiment into DAO collaboration, to be a DAO consultant, to test that, to accelerate what business relationship tokenization might look like, and in part to pursue my own risky ventures, particularly the open source assessments, which if they fail, I didn't want to backfire onto NFT-DAO.
All right. Yes. Wow. Very impressive. All of you gentlemen, very impressive. All right. So we're going to do a little round robin, starting with Troy. And this is a broad discussion right here when we talk about this, but governance, why is it important? Troy.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Yeah, so yeah, I forget to mention. So when I came on board into the NFT DAO, you know, we had kind of spread out these different areas that we felt were priorities for a DAO, and development, of course, is one of them, especially in the cryptocurrency space, and around marketing and product management, and the other one was definitely governance, and so that's where I kind of felt drawn to, because I mean, in my experience, I always try to look at things from a big picture perspective and look at strategies and how we can look at things, not just right now, but in the long term. So governance for me is, you know, it's a way that gives you structure and organization, especially in something as fluid as a community. And it also provides processes. And for me, processes are important because it provides consistency in ways of doing things, and that can be from anything from communicating to the way we trade, assets, to the way we send out messages or products and things like that. So for me, it's just the importance of organization. And since we set up in the beginning this idea of a DAO, it's like, we see it in the space often, and I'm not sure if people, fully understand what it is. And it's given me further understanding just by being in it. And one of those things is how do you create a business out of just a community of individuals? Because typically our experiences of businesses are top down. They're these sort of hierarchical structures. We've all been in jobs, we've had bosses, they've had bosses, there's been an owner, and we've got this trickle down effect, and sometimes our voices don't feel heard. So one of the great appeals of blockchain has been this idea of distribution of power, of finances, and of ways of doing things. And I think that's been part of the draw of the DAO structure. And so that's a philosophy we wanted to take on. We want that. We want to be able to have this idea of a distributed or decentralized ways of doing things in our community, because we're in that space. But also at the same time, you've got to balance out, well, how do you get things done? There is this idea of self-organization, which is really important in these sort of decentralized networks. But what does that mean? What does it mean when you get a group of people together and out of 10 people, maybe 2 are really working hard, and maybe 2 are just not even turning up to meetings or whatever. And we've all seen this in committees, and we've seen it in collabs and collectives. And so we see that in DAOs too. So governance is a real important way of firstly setting down on the table what's our goals to be able to work together, what's our sort of protocols to do that, and how will we be doing that over time. So governance relates to all the things pertaining to organization within the community.
Absolutely. Beautiful answer. How about you, Dan? Can you give us your input of governance? Why is it important?
Troy touched on mentioned a very important term, the protocol. Basically, we are trying to formalize the protocol on how we should engage within the community and how we should work within the community, track work. And so I don't know if the viewers heard, but this term chaotic from Rich, he mentioned it a lot of times, that we have this chaotic community. And governance is, how I view it, is the interface layer between this chaotic state and the state where things actually afterwards become tangible, or there's something on the other side coming out as a product. And that's why governance is important, because without this, we would not be able to scale. We would maybe be able to continue in a bit of unformalized ways, but it would not be effective, and it would not contribute to the overall value of the community, because then we would have failed in producing something that everyone can use faster than each individual could produce it. So yeah, that's why I think governance is of pinnacle importance, especially for the NFT-DAO. It's the hard thing is that we are building it as we are growing. So that's a very, very tough thing to do. However, I think we are doing it quite well. We're trying to keep the loops of iterations very small, and basically figuring it out as we go. But as I said, governance, there's nothing more important, and I hope that other people within the DAO will see it the same way.
All right, yes. So Stephen, governance, why is it important?
Well, I would echo what Dan and Troy were saying as well. And I would say governance was in part why Project Catalyst was started in the first place as well, to support Cardano's evolution to distributed autonomy with the community's assistance. And we're doing our small part to help that. And governance is the final piece in the puzzle of decentralized autonomous organization. Once it has the potential to empower the lives of many people, but we can't do it alone. So we need to reach out to other DAOs. We need to talk to people. We need to broaden out our reach. So we invite people to come and join NFT-DAO and to discuss with us our different models. You know, it's no one person can know what a DAO is. It's still an evolving concept.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So what strides has NFT-DAO made with governance? Troy?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of governance, I think it was mentioned by both Dan and Stephen, this idea of emergence. So it's this idea that we're building as we go and finding out what's needed as we're going through the process as well. And so that is a big part of our process in NFT-DAO is this idea of iterations and iterating and trying out new things and stuff like this. So, you know, one of the first, you know, things was, you know, I mean, even from day one was this starting from scratch is we need a platform, we need a place where we can meet, you know, and so we got that. We started up a Discord and started putting out invitations on Catalyst, and slowly people started turning up, and then more people turned up, and then, you know, there's like 300 plus people, and then now you've got all these people there, and some of them are engaging in different conversations. And as you know, on Discord, well, there's a conversation here, where should we put this? We create a channel, then all these channels pop up, and then you've got this sort of very basic working sort of community to get going. But then, you know, we have to start looking at, well, there are a bunch of things that we're wanting to achieve here. The primary one is we want to set up a composable NFT marketplace. So that's our main goal, and that's what we've been funded by Project Catalyst to do, and that's where Project Catalyst is seeking you know, benefits from the work. And that's this idea that we're setting up a marketplace infrastructure that other people can come in with their own products or product lines and be able to set up their own shops and sell NFTs that way. And that's, you know, our primary focus. But attached to that are these two other parts, and that's around having a DAO. So that's having a collective and a community of people who work together. So we've needed to create governance for that. So the governance for that has been attached around building out holons, and holons is this idea of that we have these liquid working groups, and that's how people work together. So that if they're drawn into a particular topic or area of interest, they join a holon, and then they become part of the discussion, whether that's for an auction or whether it's for virtual assets or whatever it is. So needing to have process and things like that is why we as a group, the Governance Holon, have come together to discuss, you know, what sort of processes we need to put in place from here on out. And then we've got the Development Holon, who's, you know, a big part of the launching of the marketplace infrastructure. And then thirdly, we've got the financial structure that runs, you know, the whole thing, and that's around this idea of tokenization, you know. And so the third part is looking into contribution tokens. And so to do that, all of us have at different times been just ideating and putting out these ideas, and someone will come up with token distribution models, and someone will come up with different mind maps around how we do onboarding processes or UX experiences for people coming into the DAO. And then someone will set up an Airtable, someone like yourself will set up a podcast, someone will set up a logo, and slowly the governing sort of process emerges, where people say, hey, I see this needs to be done, I'm going to do this. Or Andy, who's one of the first artists in the DAO, he'll see various opportunities to, hey, I can contribute my talents here, and so that's all been emerging. And so our job as a governance Holon is to capture all this. How do we kind of like try to capture this big sprawling, beast of a thing, and that's done through an amazing work from Stephen, who's been organizing all the GitHub side of things, so that we can have an auditable system to track all the documentation that's happening. We're setting up business plans and charters and all of this sort of stuff. And some of the challenges involve, well, now that we've got this information, how does everyone get to have a voice on this, or how does all that work? So every step of the way, there's some new challenge emerges that we as a community need to kind of troubleshoot and find ways to work around. So that's kind of how our governance process has been rolling out. And I'm hoping that's seen as value. I believe it's seen as value from the members of the community, and the real value will be seen from Catalyst members when we launched the deliverables that we've said that we're going to do, and we're a good chunk of the way through the Fund 3 deliverables at the moment. So feeling good about that. Things feel like they're getting on track.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you for that really thorough answer. So Dan, can you give us some input on like what's been done thus far up until this point?
First, we looked at how the community interacts with each other, how work is being done. We try to figure out where can we capture this work best, where can we attribute contributions, and then we modeled goals, to which we then modeled very simple token systems. And these token systems are now being further mapped out. And once this is done, probably in the next week or so, we will go into the software simulation phase, where we have these CUDA tokens actually released to the community to play around. And then we will take this data after probably 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll process this data and see if it fits the goals that we set or not. Then either if it fits, then we continue to map the details further out and map them also onto different sub-blocks. For example, the voting mechanism or the marketplace voting. And then once this is done, we can test it in a live environment once the marketplace is open. So it will be a very iterative process. We set up the research first. We set up the token engineering model for testing it on a software model basis within our community. And so the first 2 steps of the 3 steps in the first iteration of the token is done. And once this is out in the next maybe 5 to 6 weeks, we will be able to, on a very basic level, track contributions and do voting within the Holons and outside of the Holons. We have been modeling after the Ocean DAO, if it's of meaning to someone, and also some other DAOs where we had great references and touch points with. That's so far what has been done.
Wow, that's really impressive. Very thorough answers, gentlemen. How about you, Stephen? Can you give us some input about this contribution token?
Yeah, I think there's been a wonderful evolution taking part over the past 2 months from very modest beginnings to now that we have certainly on the tokenization side, we've learnt our lessons, and we tend to look at things from a high level point of view and from a low level point of view, where we get into the technical details. And then on the other hand, you need to have a broad view of what you can deliver in the near, medium and long term. And in the near term, we are going to, we're aiming for Fund 3 deliverables, and in the intermediate term for more, for an evolution towards more governance type tokens, which might involve voting. And at the same time, we've as we found our feet, and this takes some time, and it's chaotic and it's messy. People tend to find what they're good at. And so you get Troy's wonderful work on business planning and project management and his research, and the research by Sev and HUD on business models. And I also have been reaching out to Phil on metadata standards, and that's very important to reach out. We're starting to realize the necessity of referencing what industry are doing with the token framework and the NFT metadata framework as well.
Oh, wow. Yes, very important. All right. So this has been a very insightful conversation we had. So Dan, how can newcomers join and become active participants in this ecosystem?
Well, that depends on if they know what they want to do or not. Anyone can join the Discord and just say hi and voice what it is that brought him there. And usually anyone in the community says, hi, it's very good to have you. And by the way, it sounds like you could find some meaningful connections in this channel or on that channel. if that doesn't happen, which I don't think it ever did, people can also, if they know what they want to do, just join a specific channel, or yeah, as soon as they're ready to dig in deeper, we have everyone fill out an Airtable application. I don't know how many are filled out. I think over 40 by now or something. So, but yeah, that's the two ways currently of joining. We're working on streamlining this process even much further. But for now, Discord is probably the best choice. What do you think, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty best way. All right. Excellent.
There's various channels that the marketing Holon's been working on in terms of onboarding, and so some of those channels will be through our Catalyst proposals, and then now because of the good work you guys are doing on YouTube and Twitter, so there's a stronger social media presence. So hopefully that onboards the ocean, as they say, and then we'll have more kind of technical specific onboarding for the pond of developers and onboarding through different blockchains.
Yes, absolutely. You want Stephen?
Yeah, sorry, Philip. Yeah, a good first step is just to come and introduce yourself on the Discord server, and just if you've got an opinion, a strong opinion about something, or an idea, or a comment about a news story, or a question, just come on Discord, and then that's a way to engage. From the beginning, a lot of us came on that way, and got a very friendly and welcoming reception.
Absolutely, yes. And thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today. I really appreciate that. And this concludes the podcast. Thank you all for joining me today. And all the links will be found in the description box below. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And until next time, build on, build strong, and build right. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Philip.
Thank you, Phil. We appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
No problem.